The first 2.5 weeks of August hadn't been very kind to me. I don't pretend to be perfect. And during this journey through grief, the worst part was probably August, this last August, like I mentioned, for about a few weeks. I had gotten through my husband's birthday and the 1-year date from when he passed away. And I don't know why August seemed to be so dark for me, but I have a lot to tell you about August and what came after August and where I'm at right now. I didn't make a lot of videos about my grief and grieving my husband, who was a very important piece of my life. And that's because I have to, as a mom of 8 kids, I have to be able to function. I have to do what's needed throughout the day, run the household, take care of my kids. And if I had done a lot of videos on focusing on my pain and my emotion of missing him, I don't think that would have aided in my progress through grief. It would have just moved me backwards. But nights, every night, I had almost like cried out and yearned for my husband. I'm going to take you through those weeks in August and let you know what I was thinking. It was just this dark, dark place I was in. And I did write some of it down. And I'll read it to you because I like to journal. And I wrote down some of my thoughts at the time. And there's a lot to tell you about. So, since my beloved husband passed away 1 year ago, I now know what it is like to not want to live. I want to be clear on something. In August, in the 1st and 2nd, probably about mid-August, 2.5 weeks in August, it's not that I wanted to do anything to myself. I just had lost a desire to live. I wasn't looking for the S word. When the emotional pain is so strong, it overrides the primordial fear of death. I would not be alive if it were not for our kids. Now, I'll do some explaining of that more in depth. Everybody has a natural fear of death, and I had lost a major chunk of fear of dying during that dark phase. I was okay in July, but like I said, some reason in August, I just ended up in this dark phase of my life. If things were different and my husband, who was very, 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 very loved by me, if we had not had a family, I would not have been around very long after his passing. Like, honestly, probably within the next few hours after his passing, I probably would have done something if we hadn't had our children. And the reason for that is because my thinking at the time was like, there wasn't anything around in the world that I would want to stay for. I had a deep love for my husband, and He loved me very much, and the world would just not have been worthwhile, sticking around and going through the pain of losing him. So I probably, again, there would have been something very catastrophic. I don't know the right word, but there would have been something very finalizing that I would have done without our family. I wrote down a few things during August on my phone. I typed it out because I was in bed and I didn't have a pen and paper nearby. So these are a few thoughts I wrote down. I never experienced anything like this in my life, this grieving. The emotional pain is pain. I have lost a part of me that I'll never get back in my lifetime. Julius was reading a book currently on how to live longer through eating healthy. For the first time in my life, I thought in my head, why would you want to live longer? Again, at the time I wrote this, it just seemed like odd to me, because if you are connected to the Lord, why would you fear going to be with him? Why would you fear heaven? So that's what I was really thinking. Why would you want to live longer? But don't worry, I have devoted myself to him and our children. Until the day comes that I can join him in heaven, I have the responsibility of raising our children and helping them out with their lives. That was my job. That's what I saw my life as going henceforth. Was I had a job to do. It was to look after our children, and when I'm finished doing my job, then I can go and be with him, and that would be my reward. You see, the way I look at things, my husband, his name is Eugene, he's like the tree trunk of a tree. He's like the tree trunk, and our children are the branches and the leaves. So I don't know if you can understand where I'm coming from. Hopefully that analogy will explain it better. Okay, my notes are a little bit scattered. They're on the phone and they're on this paper here. When the emotional pain is so severe it overrides a primordial fear of death. I've never experienced this intense suffering before in my life. I've lost a part of me that I'll not ever get back in my lifetime. Why do I have to suffer? That was a question in my head I couldn't understand, and I would ask God at night when I would feel really down, and I just couldn't, I'm a good person. Why would I have to suffer like this? Why do I have to suffer? Every night I beg the Lord and Jesus to dream of Eugene, my heart screaming out to him. This analogy with the tree, I tried to explain it to my husband using that example of how I look at him and how I view our children coming forth from our marriage. Since he passed, I don't care as much what people think of me. It's like, what could you possibly do to me that is worse than what I've gone through? That's true. Since it happened over a year ago, I have lost a considerable part of concern about what other people think of me. It could get me into trouble though, because if I don't care what people think, then I don't think about how they could perceive me and they get the wrong idea, which does happen. For the first time ever, I thought this pain will destroy me. I hadn't felt connected to my husband and it was painful for me. It drives me nuts when I don't feel connected to him. That's why I wanted so much to dream of him, because it felt like I was seeing him. I went on day to day because I had to. There was nothing else to do. That's it, you know. When you're grieving the loss of somebody, you don't go on, you don't wake up every day and get up because you want to. You do it because there's nothing else to do. That's the only thing you can do, is just go on and on every day. Many, many years ago, my husband taught me transcendental meditation. So I knew that if I began to do that, that could help me to feel more connected to God and my husband. And I hadn't been doing that just because I've been so busy and I can't really put aside a chunk of time during the day whereby I know I'm going to not be interrupted to do it. And before bed, it's just, I'm just so tired, you know, I'm exhausted. So one night I was lying in bed and I was talking to my husband in my head. I knew that this would destroy me if I went on like this. And I asked him, I said, how do you expect me to get through this? Like these 40 plus years of my life, how do you expect me to do this? Then it came to me, perseverance is how. Perseverance is in my husband's system. This system that was created saved his life, and perseverance, I knew, will get me through. This was the start of when things started to shift for me. I was going to print up his pattern for perseverance, and I was going to put it right on the first wall I see when I get up out of bed. It's just across from my bed, so I'd see it every night when I go to bed and every morning when I wake up. This was one of the first keys that I was given in order to move out of this dark, destructive, emotional sphere I was in. I wrote this down on my phone. I feel okay now because I'm pleasing God, Jesus, and pleasing my husband. He can rest assured that he can depend on me to take good care of our children while he is gone and stay true to him. And at the end of my life, my reward will be to be with him again. So you can see now my thought process is changing. And then the second piece that I was given in order to claw my way out of this darkness that I was in, my little boy, he's 2.5, Eugenius, he was lying on top of me, on my tummy, and he was sleeping, and I felt a love for him, for my little boy, and I was thinking about his Father in heaven. And I know that usually logic doesn't work to explain things from about God or heaven or this eternal spiritual realm that is beyond just earthly life. But I wrote this down. God is love. So the love that I feel for little Eugenius is God. Where my husband is now, we call heaven. My husband told me it is pure bliss and you become one with the Creator, which is God. Therefore, whenever I feel love, I know my husband is present in the love I am feeling. That is how I can feel connected to him and get through the rest of my life. Now, I told you that when I don't feel connected to my husband, it just hurts so much. We were very, very, very close. And now I have something that I can grab onto. Every time I feel love, I know that my husband is present within that love. So my heart felt full, and the reason why it felt full was because it was full with love. I was feeling love for our son, love for my husband, love for God. And I started to get really excited because as I wrote this down here, I'm writing, I'm excited because I have a connection to him. He sent the Comforter, meaning he must have made it to heaven. I spoke about him being in heaven already. And this love that I was feeling strongly was a concrete reinforcement that he is indeed in heaven. Now, I know I'm speaking about the Comforter. What's the Comforter? The Comforter comes from in the Bible in St. John. And it's where Jesus is talking to his disciples. It's the last night, and it's after supper, I believe, and he's telling them that where he's going to be with the Father, and not to worry because he's going to send them the Comforter. Okay, I'm on Bible Hub here. And it's John 14:17, and they have different Bible versions all throughout here if you want to check it out yourself. So, John 14:17, New International Version, the Spirit of Truth. The world cannot accept him because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him, for he lives with you and will be with you. Here, New King James Version here, I'm going to read. The Spirit of Truth, that's the Comforter, whom the world cannot receive because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him, for he dwells with you and will be with you. The Spirit of Truth lives in me. That's why it doesn't hurt anymore. I miss him, yes. But that suffering that I was experiencing in August, the pain isn't there anymore. And I feel love. I want to thank you so much for being there for me. So, as always, and I know I always say this, but I'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye-bye.